in the performances that we've discovered that when there are two references to the town of Leicester, you can hear the audience go, oh, that's where he was buried in the car park.
So we're right next to the site where Richard's remains were discovered back in 2012, and our exhibition tells the story of who was Richard III and the amazing story of his discovery in a car park.
We're parked over there.
Over there, you can see the car there. But this is...
It's where Richard was found, so yeah, that's the famous kind of car park down there.
So part of our exhibition includes that part of the archaeological trench where Richard's skeletal remains were found in 2012.
Come on, let's find his grave.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I found one already.
Yeah, okay, right. I don't seem to have any effects at all, though. I'd have given up, you see.
It is the finesse, you see.
Yeah.
You're too heavy-handed.
And we've also preserved that part of Trench 1 where the remains were found, so you can look down through the glass floor and see where Richard was buried in 1485 and then when he was later discovered over 500 years later.
I always rather liked Richard III because I think Shakespeare makes a great character out of him.
Shakespeare's character is amazing, so compelling to watch, but he's an out-and-out villain, whereas in real life people are more nuanced, they're more shades of grey than black and white.
It was great being able to see at the visitor centre. I wanted to put rings around Shakespeare wrote a play about this king and that king and this king. Henry IV, wicked usurper. Henry V, great warrior king. Henry VI, therefore, weak, saintly king. Richard III, baddie.
There's almost a play in where they should all meet at some dinner party, isn't there?
And discuss
all these different personalities. Yeah. After spending the last 8-9 months with Shakespeare's Richard, to finally be in the site where he was found is fantastic. And to see the shape of Richard himself.
We do have a 3D printed copy of his skeleton and in particular his spine, so you can see the scoliosis, which of course is such a famous part of Richard's story.
Aha, is this it?
Wow. Not just the S, but the twist. Like you say, that corkscrew, isn't it? It's quite...
He must have been in considerable pain. Wow. I think perhaps those who were discovering it were not expecting actually to discover the level of disability that man suffered. Looking at the corkscrew twist of that spine and learning about the idiopathic adolescent onset scoliosis and just what pain that must have caused that young man. My admiration for Richard has gone up exponentially.
It's so interesting that historical Richard and Shakespeare's Richard are two very different things, and these historical details are lovely flavours to add in, creating this Richard for the stage.
One of the things that I found very interesting was how the epitaph that Henry VII has apparently placed basically begins all that ridiculous act of vengeance in terms of making it all Richard's responsibility. So this is what Henry had put on his tomb. He's actually challenging his right to the throne.
Before, most people's perception of Richard is shaped by that Shakespeare play, and love it or hate it, that's pretty much what we thought of Richard III, was the character in the play. And now, of course, we've got the information that came from the analysis of the remains about his scoliosis, the fact that he did actually have a spinal disability, and how did that shape how he thought of himself as a person in a time when disability was treated very differently.
As a disabled actor, to have that as fact and to know that this was a famous disabled king, I think that confirmation, that fact, is something important for me to be playing this very famous disabled part who not enough is played by a disabled actor. I've spent a lot of time understanding the psychological shape of him, and as a disabled actor, kind of the physical shape of him was just, I'm just going to let my body do the talking now. So to come here and see with my own eyes how Richard was shaped really brought it to life in 3D.